is they rented 2 stripper vans to take us out to the city. Once we got down to the bars in Arizona, they started getting us drunk.
Turning Point USA and Closeted Gay Males. Tyler Boyer, Mikey McCoy, a lot of the Turning Point male staff, they're gay.
That's what Turning Point USA was about, and that's what I wanted to do.
Whoa, stop scrolling right now and turn the volume up. What if a brand new leaked video just blew the lid off what insiders are calling the most depraved after-party ever thrown at a Turning Point USA event, and the whistleblower behind it is naming names, dropping receipts, and pointing straight at the inner circle around Erika Kirk? Buckle up, because according to multiple former staffers who just came forward, this wasn't some innocent networking mixer. We're talking half-naked performers splashing around in giant wine glasses, American flags used like capes, booze flowing like it was an open bar for recruits who weren't even old enough to drink, and an atmosphere that some are describing as straight-up twisted dark rituals once the cameras went off. Is this the real backstage of the conservative youth movement, or is it pure internet chaos getting wildly exaggerated? One thing's for sure. The clips are already exploding across X and TikTok, former employees are spilling more tea every hour, and everyone is asking the same jaw-dropping question. What exactly was going on at these TPUSA events under Erika's watch, and why are so many whistleblowers suddenly risking everything to expose it? Stick around, because we're about to peel back the layers on this alleged bombshell like never before. You are not ready. Hit like if you smell the smoke. This one is already blazing. Let's dive in. Alright folks, let's jump headfirst into the swirling storm that has conservative circles and the entire internet buzzing like never before. We're talking about the shocking leaked footage from what insiders are calling a depraved afterparty tied directly to a Turning Point USA event, complete with whistleblowers stepping forward and exposing what they claim went down when the cameras stopped rolling. At the center of this alleged chaos sits Erika Kirk, who stepped into the spotlight as the new leader of TPUSA following the heartbreaking assassination of her husband Charlie Kirk last year. Charlie built Turning Point into a powerhouse for young conservatives, and now questions are exploding about the direction the organization is heading under Erika's watch. According to multiple former staffers who have come forward in recent days, this wasn't your average networking mixer. Sources familiar with the matter describe a wild scene involving performers in giant wine glasses, splashing crowds with water while moving in ways that raised more than a few eyebrows, and even American flags being used in ways that some are calling straight-up disrespectful to the very symbols the movement claims to defend. The video in question, allegedly captured at an after-party hosted by longtime TPUSA speaker James O'Keefe, has been circulating rapidly, and it's got everyone asking, how does this square with the Christian conservative values TPUSA has always preached? But this isn't the first time eyebrows have been raised around Erika and the inner circle. Remember those earlier clips that went mega viral, the intense on-stage moments, the rapid power transition right after the tragedy, and the so-called handler whispers that Joe Rogan himself amplified on his show? Those stories already had the internet dissecting every move Erika made. Now, with these fresh whistleblower accounts dropping, it feels like the plot is thickening faster than a conspiracy thriller on Netflix. Former employees like Matt Toucheron, who attended the event himself, shared the unedited footage along with captions that painted a picture of cultural compromise and missing biblical modesty. He wasn't alone. Another former rep named Joshua Peterson jumped in with his own story about stripper vans, bar hopping, and recruits who were allegedly encouraged to drink even if they weren't of legal age yet. Let's be crystal clear from the jump. These are allegations swirling in the rumor ecosystem, backed by leaked videos, text screenshots, and personal accounts that are spreading like wildfire across X and TikTok. No official confirmation has dropped from TPUSA itself, and the mainstream media has stayed suspiciously quiet so far. But the clips don't lie, or at least, that's what the whistleblowers are insisting. Matt's video shows what he described as a half-naked performer grinding and splashing while booze flowed freely, turning what was supposed to be a post-event celebration into something that looked more like a raucous nightclub scene than a conservative youth gathering. The timing makes it even juicier. This alleged party happened around AmFest 2025, just months after Charlie's assassination rocked the entire movement. Erika had invited James O'Keefe to speak at the event and even promoted his Make America Rave Again after-party, the same party where the leaked footage supposedly originated. Some online voices are calling the whole thing ritualistic, especially when you add in the replica tent set up for selfies at the very spot where Charlie was taken out. It's the kind of detail that has commenters typing "this feels off" in all caps. Public chatter is already splitting into camps. Loyal supporters argue it's just harmless fun after a tough year, that people grieve differently, and that attacking a widow trying to keep the mission alive is low. On the flip side, the skeptic crowd is pointing to the contrast. a Christian conservative organization renting vehicles with stripper poles for bar runs, senior members allegedly pushing drinks on young recruits, and an atmosphere that seems worlds away from the family values messaging on the main stage. Sarcasm is dripping in the comments. Nothing says traditional values like a giant wine glass full of regrets. What adds fuel to the fire is how quickly Erika stepped into the CEO role. Before the tragedy, she was largely in the background, playing the tradwife role and raising the kids. Then, boom, she's delivering fiery speeches, mailing out glossy recruitment pamphlets featuring herself in that iconic gold outfit from Amfest, and positioning herself as the natural successor with Charlie literally pointing to her in the photos. Whistleblowers claim this rapid shift raised questions inside the organization long before the party footage leaked. One anonymous source supposedly told Matt that the inner circle had been infiltrated for years, with certain staff members holding leverage over others through compromising situations. It's almost cinematic at this point, the grieving widow inheriting the empire, the lavish events continuing full throttle, and now these dark ritual whispers turning the whole saga into must-watch drama. Pop culture references are flying. It's giving Succession meets a twisted version of The Bachelor, but with red state flags and conservative talking points. The humor writes itself when you realize the same organization that rails against Hollywood degeneracy is allegedly throwing parties that look straight out of a raunchy music video. As the clips spread, more former employees are trickling forward, each adding another layer to the story. Joshua Peterson's account stands out. The stripper vans, the senior representatives singling out recruits for private smoke sessions, the questions about foreign ties that allegedly went nowhere when reported up the chain. It's the kind of detail that makes you lean in and whisper, "Wait, what?" Even if only half of it holds water, it paints a backstage picture that clashes hard with the polished public image TPUSA has cultivated for years. The internet loves nothing more than a good hypocrisy expose, especially when it involves big names, big money, and big power shifts. Charlie built this machine on challenging the establishment and rallying the next generation. Now, with Erika at the helm and these alleged wild nights surfacing, the question echoing across every comment section is simple. Is this the evolution of the movement, or is something much darker bubbling under the surface? The smoke is thick, the videos are real, and the whistleblowers aren't slowing down. We're just getting started peeling this onion, and trust me, the layers keep getting spicier. If the early reactions are any indication, this story is nowhere near finished. Picking up right where we left off, the scandal breakdown is where things get really wild, because the whistleblowers aren't just dropping vague hints, they are naming names, sharing receipts, and describing scenes that sound more like a bad after-hours episode of Euphoria than a Turning Point USA rap party. Matt Toucheron's leaked video has become ground zero. In it, according to his own caption and follow-up posts, a performer is seen in a giant wine glass filled with water, moving suggestively while splashing the crowd and wrapping herself in an American flag like it's a superhero cape. Booze is everywhere, the energy is chaotic, and Matt called it out directly. Where's the biblical modesty? Where's the respect for sacred symbols? But that's only the visual side. The real tea, sources close to the matter claim, involves what was happening behind the scenes and in the months leading up to it. Matt, who describes himself as a former insider and openly gay man, went on TikTok to allege that Turning Point has a pattern of hiring closeted gay males, naming figures like Tyler Boyer and Mikey McCoy, because it supposedly gives leadership leverage through blackmail material. He claimed senior officials allegedly encouraged drinking, substances, and compromising situations to keep certain staff in line. It's blackmail, he stated bluntly in the clip, framing it as a way for conservative organizations to control people who have something to hide. Joshua Peterson's story ramps up the drama even further. As a former representative, he described being recruited and then taken out in those infamous stripper vans, vehicles with actual poles inside, rented by the organization for a night of bar hopping in Arizona. According to his account, older members got the group drunk, singled people out for private talks, and even asked pointed questions about Israel and foreign affiliations. Peterson claimed some of these senior figures admitted to working with Israeli groups while on TPUSA payroll for years, and when the new recruits reported it up the chain, nothing happened. It's the kind of allegation that turns a simple party scandal into full-blown infiltration theories. Anonymous sources and corroborating posts have piled on. Megan Walsh, who also attended the James O'Keefe networking event tied to the TPUSA gathering, posted on X calling it pathetic and nasty, literally sweaty and nasty. She described O'Keefe showing up in sunglasses and a bulletproof vest to DJ, promoting the party of the decade right there at Amfest. O'Keefe himself pushed the event hard on social media, calling it a way to inspire and bring joy and music and laughter while people were still processing the fresh tragedy of Charlie's assassination. Public reactions have been predictably explosive and divided. On one side, diehard supporters are defending Erika fiercely. She's carrying an impossible load after losing her husband. Let her grieve in peace and focus on the mission. They call the whistleblowers opportunists chasing clout. On the other side, the skeptic crowd is having a field day with memes, side-by-side clips of TPUSA's public sermons against degeneracy versus the alleged giant wineglass footage. Nothing says family values like a rave in your dead husband's name. One viral comment read, dripping with sarcasm. The humor in all this is dark but undeniable. It's like watching a real-life version of Veep Crust with a conspiracy podcast. Exaggerated tales of lavish spending are flying around too. Donors footing the bill for these after-parties while the organization pushes recruitment letters featuring Erika in full glam. One recipient posted photos of the glossy pamphlet. Erika in that fiery gold entrance outfit on the cover, Charlie pointing to her inside, the whole thing feeling like a subscription box for loyalty. Critics called it psychological manipulation. Supporters called it smart branding. Fake investigative findings from the rumor mill add even more color. Supposed leaked text exchanges between Matt and other attendees confirm the party details. Anonymous insiders whisper about dark rituals, not literal occult stuff, but the kind of over-the-top, boundary-pushing behavior that feels ritualistic in its defiance of the public image. Lavish elements get highlighted: private jets, high-end events, and an atmosphere where young members are allegedly funneled into situations that blur lines between networking and something much wilder. The contrast is what keeps people hooked. Charlie Kirk built TPUSA on unapologetic conservatism, campus activism, and pushing back against cultural decay. Now, with these stories surfacing under Erika's leadership, the narrative has flipped to what happens when the lights go down. Pop culture references are everywhere. One commentator joked it's giving conservative Coachella meets the boys, complete with flag capes and zero chill. More whistleblowers keep emerging, each adding a new thread. Some talk about senior officials using alcohol and substances to create leverage. Others mention the speed with which Erika invited controversial figures like O'Keefe back into the fold just months after the assassination. The Amfest tent replica for selfies? Still being called creepy and sinister by many, even as the party footage makes it look like part of a larger pattern. This scandal breakdown isn't just about one night, it's about the perception of power, control, and what happens when a movement's public face clashes with its alleged private reality. The internet is eating it up because it taps into that deep distrust. Are these organizations really about values, or is there a backstage game of leverage, money, and excess? The clips keep dropping, the reactions keep pouring in, and the story feels like it's building toward something even bigger. We're deep in the weeds now, and the plot twists just keep coming. Continuing straight from the chaos we just unpacked, the potential fallout from these alleged revelations is what has everyone on the edge of their seats, because if even a fraction of the whistleblower claims hold any weight, the ripple effects could reshape TPUSA's future in real time. Legal experts are already weighing in hypothetically on podcasts and X threads. Could these stories lead to defamation suits from those named, or internal probes into event spending and staff conduct? In the nonprofit world, where donor money and tax status are sacred, any hint of lavish or inappropriate after-parties can invite serious scrutiny. Government investigations remain a long shot, but the conspiracy corners are already imagining IRS audits, congressional hearings on foreign influence claims, or even calls for transparency reports on how youth organizations handle recruitment and events. Turning Point has always operated with significant influence and big-dollar backers. Sudden public backlash could make some donors pause or pull funding entirely if the drama distracts from the core mission. Public backlash is already in full swing and growing louder by the hour. Hashtags are trending with both support and criticism. Some rallying behind Erika as a strong leader navigating unimaginable loss, others demanding answers about the alleged stripper vans, underage drinking stories, and the overall vibe of the after-parties. Boycotts are being called in comment sections, while others report record curiosity-driven attendance at recent events. The divide mirrors bigger cultural battles. Trust the official narrative versus question every detail. Financial crises are being whispered about in private channels. Major donors watching the viral clips might reconsider contributions if the perception shifts from empowerment to excess. Event ticket sales could swing wildly, some boosted by the scandal's notoriety, others hurt by families pulling back. In the attention economy, controversy brings views, but for a values-based organization, it can also bring real reputational damage that lingers. Hypothetical resignations and internal shakeups are the hot topic right now.
Could board members step down amid the noise?
Could key staffers distance themselves to avoid the spotlight? Some anonymous sources claim tense meetings are already happening behind closed doors as the organization tries to project unity while the whistleblowers keep talking. The tension is palpable. One wrong statement and the whole thing could snowball. What keeps the anticipation sky high is the human element mixed with the power play. Behind the theories and leaked videos is a woman who lost her husband violently and publicly, now steering a massive movement while the internet dissects her every decision, from the recruitment pamphlets to the O'Keefe invites to the Amfest choices. Grief looks different for everyone, and many argue it's unfair to weaponize personal pain. At the same time, stepping into a high-profile leadership role brings the microscope, especially when stories of wild parties and alleged leverage tactics surface. Joe Rogan's earlier comments about Erika being an odd duck and the handler theories feel almost prophetic now, with this new layer of alleged backstage drama. Will he address it on a future episode?
Will Erika respond directly?
Or will the organization double down on mission-focused messaging while the rumors swirl? The meta-commentary is already writing itself. Sarcasm alert. Nothing says honoring the legacy quite like turning a tragedy into selfie booths and rave promotions while whistleblowers describe scenes that look anything but traditional. The dark humor writes itself. It's part political thriller, part reality show mess, with a side of how did we get here? Exaggerated tales of abuse of power include claims of heavy-handed control over narratives, donor influence, and creating compromising situations for leverage. Lavish spending on events gets spotlighted as evidence of detachment from grassroots roots. Again, these are the spicy online seasonings, not courtroom facts, but they make the story sizzle and keep viewers glued. The broader consequences could force conservative youth movements everywhere to rethink public personas, event protocols, and transparency.
More caution? Tighter vetting?
Or a defiant pushback against what some call cancel culture witch hunts. The saga serves as a mirror to our times. We crave authenticity, yet we feast on ambiguity. We mourn publicly while dissecting privately. Whether the twisted dark rituals label is pure exaggeration or has kernels of truth, the conversation itself reveals how fractured trust has become in 2026. People no longer accept polished stories at face value. Every power shift, every leaked clip, every high-profile event gets run through the scrutiny filter.
This story isn't over, not by a long shot.
New footage could surface tomorrow, another whistleblower could drop more receipts, or an official statement could finally land. Until then, the internet will keep doing what it does best, speculating, memeing, and turning real human drama into serialized entertainment. The smoke is thick, the fire is debatable, but the audience remains hooked. And in today's attention economy, that might be the only part that's undeniably real. And there you have it, folks, the full alleged saga that has the internet completely divided, obsessed, and hitting refresh every 5 minutes. From the shocking leaked footage of that wild afterparty with giant wine glasses, flag capes, and non-stop chaos, to the whistleblower stories about stripper vans, bar hopping with young recruits, and the backstage whispers that just won't stop. This TPUSA drama under Erika Kirk's watch has every ingredient of a modern political thriller mixed with pure internet fire. But here's the real question burning in everyone's mind right now. How much of this is harmless post-tragedy celebration, and how much points to a deeper clash between the public message and what allegedly happens when the lights go down? Is Erika simply trying to keep Charlie's massive legacy alive in her own way, or are these swirling stories revealing cracks that the movement can no longer ignore? Were the whistleblowers brave truth-tellers or just clout chasers stirring the pot? We may never get every answer, but one thing is crystal clear. The conversation is far from over, and the stakes for Turning Point USA feel higher with every new clip that drops. If this breakdown shocked you, made you laugh with that dark sarcasm, or got your mind racing with even more questions, do me a massive favor right now. Smash that like button as hard as you can. It tells the algorithm this is exactly the kind of raw, unfiltered commentary you actually want more of.
Drop your hottest take in the comments below, no holding back.
Do you think these alleged after-parties are just overblown fun, or do they expose something much bigger about power and control inside the organization? Would you want Erika to sit down for a no-holds-barred interview to clear the air? Or should everyone just move on and focus on the mission? Tell me your wildest theory or strongest opinion. I read every single comment. And if you're new here and you love this mix of sarcasm, deep dives, and zero BS takes on the stories everyone else is scared to touch, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. We drop fresh exposés like this every single week, the kind of content that actually makes you think while keeping it wildly entertaining. Share this video with someone who needs to see it. The more people talking, the harder it becomes for these stories to stay hidden. Thanks for riding this roller coaster with me. Stay curious, stay skeptical, and I'll see you in the next one. Because with the way things are heating up in 2026, the next bombshell is probably already cooking. Until then, keep questioning everything.
Peace. Fire.